Hello?
Hi there, we're looking at office space for 215 Spadina. We're wondering if this is the right number.
I'm actually going to put you through to my partner, Maya Olick.
Okay. Before we do that, we're looking at a few spaces, but we're hoping for something a little bit more sustainability oriented, and we saw the green wall in the lobby, and we just sort of see that there's other businesses there that are sustainability oriented, and we're wondering if there's sort of like a community. We're more of a left-leaning organization, and we want to make sure that our peers and community members also reflect sort of our values. So
Yeah.
we just want to make sure that this is sort of the right fit.
Yeah, certainly would be. You can see that by the tenants.
Yesterday, we broke some pretty stunning news standing outside of this very building. If you recognize it, it is the headquarters of Dominion Voting in Toronto, Canada. Why they're headquartered here? Well, that's a great question to ask. The story we broke yesterday is that they were sharing an office floor, not just an office building, but an office floor with George Soros's Tides Foundation here in Canada. We were lucky enough to catch the evidence before it was able to be deleted. We even checked on that box right there to prove that, yes, Tides Canada was here, and so was Dominion Voting, sharing an office floor. Now, unfortunately, that was after they removed the physical signage from inside. Yeah, Dominion Voting and Tides Canada, they asked the landlords here to remove any physical mention of their name. They missed that call box, but they removed the signs. You can see it here. We got it all recorded. Could you tell us one thing, though? We know that Dominion Voting is Unit 360, and right next to them at 370 is Tides. And on this board, it's been removed, and we're wondering why that was removed.
That was removed at the request of the tenants. So
that was removed at the request of the tenants.
Recording.
Now, why would they do that? What were they trying to hide? Well, that's exactly what we wanted to ask. We left them voicemails, we left them emails, and actually the only one that bothered to get back to us was Tides. And they got back to us saying that they actually didn't know who Dominion Voting was until, well, this. I find that a little hard to believe. They've been in the news so much, and sharing an office floor, it's hard to not know who your neighbors are, who's working right next to you. Now, many Americans got back to me rightfully worried. Well, what does the Wi-Fi look like here? What does the office sharing look like here? Do they share security personnel? Do they share filing cabinets? We don't know because they won't answer us. Dominion Voting isn't being clear about this at all. They've put a lineup of things on their website refuting things that have been reported even by the mainstream media, even by Fox News in the United States, saying, no, that's all fake news. But when we got here to uncover how close they are to both George Soros and other left-wing organizations, it was nothing but hush-hush from them. Now, we came here today not just to talk about George Soros and his connections to the people and businesses inside of this building, but to talk about everyone else, and something that a girl told me here in the lobby just yesterday. Listen to this.
Famous green wall.
Huh.
So it attracts a lot of people to the building.
Oh, yeah?
Because most of these companies are all about sustainability. So
Most of the...
this matches.
Sorry, didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Most of these companies are about sustainability.
Gotcha. Well, that got me thinking. Maybe I should look into the other businesses, not just the obvious Tides Foundation, this nefarious organization that has its hands in all sorts of intersectional gender eco-politics. What about the other people in this building? Are they leftists as well? Are they extreme radicals like the Tides Foundation? Well, I looked into it. It turns out the people, organization, and businesses and charities in this building have a habit of sharing. Personnel, mainly. The new Tides CEO actually happened to be the president of AWID. That's another organization that is in this building. Isn't that strange that they just sort of leapfrog in between each other, almost like they all have a shared goal, a shared purpose, and a shared ideology? Well, it gets even worse than that. It's not just the personnel that all of these businesses in this leftist incubator share, they also share an ideology. Now, let's talk about Sustainalytics. They are a left-wing corporate watchdog. Springtide Resources, they're a woke anti-violence agency. AWID, they're gender activists. Artez Interactive, well, that's an NGO fundraiser. Teach for Canada, they're Indigenous activist teachers. AV Communications, well, they're a minority-focused ad agency. Then you have Tides Canada, an organization whose parent company is Tides in the United States. In San Francisco, they're outright communists. All of those people you have in this incubator building right behind me with a nice little eco wall. And then you have Dominion Voting, the company that has an ungodly amount of control over who sits in the Oval Office. Do they sound like an impartial business to you? Does this maybe explain why we are seeing so much irregularity in the vote in the United States? I think it does shed some light on it. I think it sheds some perspective on the modus operandi of Dominion Voting. They need to answer some questions here because we've exposed something very nefarious indeed. Not just their close ties to George Soros, someone who gives millions upon millions of dollars to the Tides Foundation, someone who spends as much of his money and capital as possible on making sure that leftist politicians are elected across the world. What are they doing in an incubator with the rest of these leftist organizations, and why didn't they get office space literally anywhere else on planet Earth? Why right here? Was their office space subsidized by George Soros? Well, it's a question worth asking, isn't it? We're just wondering if what sort of the ideology is of the businesses who work in there.
I'm running late for a meeting and I don't want to talk.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I'm sorry. I'm running late for a meeting and I don't want to.
Oh, it's okay. We'll just walk. Do you work for Dominion Voting at all? Do you work for Dominion Voting?
I didn't consent to be in this video.
Do you work for Dominion Voting? If not, we'll leave you alone.
Well, no, but I just don't know why you're filming me and you're asking me questions if I didn't consent to that.
No, it's not a consent thing here on a public sidewalk. But if you do work for Dominion Voting, we are certainly interested to talk to you. Why do you think Dominion Voting chose a leftist incubator to set up office, to set up shop? There is not only the Tides Foundation funded by George Soros, there's a ton of other green, pro, LGBT leftist activists in that building. Why would Dominion Voting set up shop there? Shouldn't they be impartial? Now, she wasn't very talkative, but I will point out that the moment I asked her, do you work for Dominion Voting, she froze and she wouldn't answer. And I told her, if you don't work for Dominion Voting, you can just say no and we'll leave you alone. But no, she couldn't say that because I think she does work for Dominion Voting. Unfortunately, it's hard to tell. Yesterday, there was a few of them walking around with masks on, so it was pretty easy to ID them because they had company swag on, but I guess they've gotten a little bit smarter as of, well, today. Unfortunately for them, we're going to stick to this, and we're going to get to the bottom of this. Why is Dominion Voting sharing so much space with so many leftists? Why didn't they pick literally anywhere on planet Earth to set up shop? Why did they pick where George Soros' operations are hiding out? Why did they pick where eco-green, pro-LGBT, pro-immigration, pro all of these leftist sort of soft ideology points? Why set up there and not somewhere else? That's an answer that Dominion Voting hasn't given. And for some reason, the mainstream media isn't interested in this at all. But I can tell you, Americans are. The video that we published just yesterday has reached hundreds of thousands of views because people want to know about the integrity that is now in question of Dominion Voting, why they're setting up with leftist organizations when they're supposed to be the most impartial organization involved in the American election. But no, it doesn't seem like we can trust them. Their slogan, I'll point out, is accurate, reliable, transparent. And right now, well, like I said yesterday, they're being anything but those three things. Hi there, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. So we were just hanging out here waiting to speak with some folks who work in this building, whether they're for Dominion or otherwise, and we spoke to one, but the police officer just came out again, and it wasn't the same one from yesterday, and we had a quick conversation with him trying to figure out what he was doing here, and he wasn't very talkative. And I would play it again, but we played it yesterday, and frankly, I have no beef with these cops. If they're hired by someone, they're just trying to make, a quick buck, and that's fine for them. I have no beef with the police at all. It seems like they've been polite to us, so I want to be polite to them, but I want to know, why is Dominion Voting so scared? So scared of having journalists ask questions. They say that they're all about transparency. It's the third word in their slogan, but it doesn't seem that way from the outside. On the wall, it says that there's space for lease here. I'm going to call them and see who they're kind of marketing space to. When Dominion Voting got space here in this building, who did they talk to and why did they choose this building? That's really what I want to determine. So I'm going to try and pretend like I'm a business wanting space here and see what they say about the tenants who are actually here right now.
Hello?
Hi there, we're looking at office space for 215 Spadina. We're wondering if this is the right number.
I'm actually going to put you through to my partner, Maya Olick.
Okay.
But before I do, just What's your requirement?
Probably anything more than 1,000 square feet. More than 1,000 square feet, less than 1,500.
And what type of business do you guys operate?
Calling.
I'm sorry?
Just calling, like phone calling.
Like a call center?
Yeah, but it's more digital.
Got it. Yeah, we certainly have that space. So let me get my on the line, and she can talk you through the availability.
Cool. Before we do that, we're looking at a few spaces, but we're hoping for something a little bit more sustainability oriented. And we saw the green wall in the lobby, and we just sort of see that there's other businesses there that are sustainability oriented, and we're wondering if there's sort of like a community.
So the building formerly was the home of what was it called? The Community of Social Innovation, and the green wall is certainly a purposeful amenity to the building, because it is one that speaks to the driver of the building and the ownership consortium of the building, which is to create sustainable spaces.
We don't want to. We don't want to be. We very carefully maintain our reputation as not involving ourselves with sort of anything. How do I put this lightly? Right wing.
Not associating yourself with what?
I don't know how to. Like, we're more of a left-leaning organization, and we want to make sure that our peers and community members also reflect sort of our values. So yeah. we just want to make sure that this is sort of the right fit.
Yeah, certainly would be. You can see that by the tenants and how the building is managed, that it's definitely a community and environment first building.
For more left-wing folks?
Can't say left or right wing. I can only say in terms of drivers, but
yeah, for sure.
Certainly I think it aligns with what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, great.
Now, hold on a moment. I didn't actually know who the Center for Social Innovation was until I got back to the office and was able to Google them. Turns out they're a leftist commune. They rent out desk space and office space to small left-wing startups, kind of exactly what we thought this building was all about. They host seminars on how to be an ally, anti-blackness at the intersections, which means they're really intersectional radicals. Now, who does that sound more like, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? You actually have to sign up to get with this group to be accepted in their commune. And somehow Dominion just happens to be working in CSI's building. CSI's been operating since 2004, and Dominion has been in that building since 2013. Now, I don't know what's going on here, but I think we're on the right track.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into our coverage here. I got to tell you, your support means a lot, and it keeps us going. If you go to helprebelnews.com, you can help keep us on this beat and other ones that the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear about, so they're not covering it. We will, but we need your help. Go to helprebelnews.com.